Now we've come to the 5. So if the 5 is in your conscious core essence or your personality sun, you will have consciousness, habits, or separation. So when we start at the right angle cross of consciousness, there's real magic in this 5th line because this 5th gate. So the 5th gate has to be in all animate objects. The 5 and the 15 are the cell. So this flow, this rhythm, this movement that is within every living being resides here in the 5 and the 15. So with the 5, when we take a look at the line values, 5.5 is about becoming enlightened. And the gate of waiting is the enlightenment story. We are designed to wait. We are designed to be in the flow, this universal flow, because the 5 is a part of all forms, and it is a fundamental aspect of life. The 5th gate is the generative force at our cellular level. So it's actually the 5th gate that is changing. And as you change by living out your design, it is the very pattern of your cells. So in a way, it is the cellular memory that's being stored inside this 5th gate. So all that is being changed and all that works through the 5th gate is so important to us. And it is the game of waiting. So everything about the 5th gate is about the nature of pattern. It's not only the nature of pattern, but the recognition that we are in the pattern. And we cannot push the pattern. So only when we accept the pattern are we going to get that the 5.2 promises us inner peace. So when we're dealing with this 4th variation of consciousness, we come to consciousness is a pattern. It's about deep recognition of patterns. That's what this consciousness cross does. The patterns, the repetition of the patterns, they are everywhere. Everywhere, all over, all the time. So when we can just surrender to the pattern, which really is your human design, then you can just give up, because that really is what enlightenment is. The mind no longer has to run the show. So when we can wait and surrender, use the strategy and authority, then it's like this, we can do this. There's a glory there. There's a moment when we can just wait, let it happen. We're all waiting. And remember, waiting is not stopping. It's about being in the flow of things, being in the flow of time, being in the flow of the moment, being in the flow of that movement, and waiting for that flow, that mutative energy that's going to eventually come through us, and waiting in the flow of that mutation. We are waiting. So we are waiting for things to happen. However, they're constantly happening. So whatever your type is, whatever your nature is, this is what you're here for. It really is about just relax. It will all just flow through you as it needs to. So it is your ability in this incarnation cross to see patterns, to grasp, and perhaps even help others grasp their pattern by you grasping yours. So in this consciousness, what you're going to notice, your largest wealth building is going to be around having a solid schedule yourself, having a solid pattern yourself, and being able to use the doubt and the confusion that's on the mental plane as a place where you can help people break free of their own patterns. Now, when we look at juxtaposition of habits, habits are really just rituals. So we create these rituals, and they are important for us. However, most of our habits are conditioned habits instead of something that we've actually been moved to based off of our strategy and our inner authority. So being conditioned to certain patterns is also important for us. And you can see that we can recognize these habits. What's ours, what isn't ours. Because what we want to do here is we want to be able to have some kind of sense of order for ourselves. And the 5 is always pointed towards the 15, which is the love of humanity. So it is looking at finally finding the flow. And it is only interested in being in the flow. That is really what these habits and these people that come in on this juxtaposition cross, they are only concerned about being in the flow. But again, it's recognizing there's conditioned flow and there's flow that is healthy and correct for ourselves. So they get to get a sense of being in the flow by having their habit. It's always going to be the same. They're always going to go to work at the same time, eat at the same time, and it becomes a very reliable, fixed pattern for us to build off of. Now when we come to the left ankle cross of separation, this one is so important because this is where we really begin to recognize the difference between a conditioned pattern and a pattern that is actually designed for ourselves. So here we are recognizing what works and what doesn't work and separating ourselves from the patterns that do not work. Remember, there's lots of practical solutions here, and there's that role model energy that happens in the 6th line. So separation is a valuable thing because what it does is it lets us break free from the old pattern and establish new and different patterns that are healthier for us. Because the conditioned patterns can give us a sense of this feeling oppressed. So once we can recognize that oppression that's happening collectively, then we can bring our attention to what pattern is actually empowering us on that 22nd gate. What pattern is empowering us? So when you leave a pattern behind, there is this separation. You're separating from that. And then you're moving into this new pattern and giving attention to a new, whole, different pattern. Instead of feeling oppressed, you're breaking out of it, walking through it. So what's important here is that that's like everybody wants to be in the flow. Everybody feels very overwhelmed right now. It's a time of massive overwhelm. And if we can allow for people to realize that getting yourself so worked up, so anxious, so worried, so nervous is not of benefit at all to us, if we can just drop into the flow and bring our attention to the patterns that actually provide us with health and wellness, that's a totally different story. So when we are unable to live, we are unable to live without patterns, because without these habits, the value that these habits bring to us and the reliability that these habits bring to us can be good. And they can also lead us to a place where, that habit, that pattern is not good. We separate and then we secure ourselves in a new pattern. That's really what human beings do. So here, excellent opportunities to assist people with recognizing patterns, understanding how to wait. There's lots and lots and lots of profit potential here when we're talking about consciousness, when we're talking about habits, and when we're talking about separation. So we'll coach, we'll have fun, and all right.